Have you ever met a really intelligent person who didn't really know how smart they were? What was your experience with them? We have a paid summer internship program for juniors and seniors pursuing construction management degrees. 5 years ago, we had a young woman who came into the program in her junior year. She was very tiny in stature, and very quiet, but we soon learned, giant in intellect and loud where it counted. The way we operate is each intern will spend 3 weeks on a different project, learning a different role within the organization. 3 weeks on-site as a superintendent intern, 3 weeks on-site with safety, 3 with project management, and 3 on-site with quality control. After each period, I received a call, praising her ingenuity and ability to adapt and improvise in any situation. At the end of the internship, we have A+/Delta review of their performance, and based on that review, we make a determination on whether to offer them a place the following summer. In the case of a senior, we determine if we want to extend them a full-time employment offer. Every review she received from each department all said the same thing: hire her now. We extended an offer for a salaried position, part-time, from that point through her senior year, along with tuition reimbursement. This young lady still amazes everyone every single day. She's 25 years old, making an amazing salary and absolutely dominating any project she's given. If she doesn't know it today, she'll practically be an expert tomorrow. She's incredibly impressive. I can see her having my job one day, operations director. Hopefully, it's after I retire. Good on you guys for seeing her talent and reimbursing her for it. I've seen a lot of great candidates get away because the company isn't willing to treat an entry-level candidate to their qualities besides being a new graduate. My dad grew up believing he was dumb and would never amount to anything. His teachers all hated him, and the first time he went to university he was kicked out. Around the same time as I started university, my mum finally convinced him to try again to get a higher education himself. He's often said that he's too stupid to go back to school, but he speaks about 6 languages fluently, has so many new interesting history facts that whenever we watch any movie we always have to pause at least 4 times for a lengthy discussion about it, and he remembers more book quotes than anyone I've ever met. He grew up in communist Hungary and East Germany, and he has since then climbed mountains and been scuba diving in the Atlantic among a bunch of other adventures. Whatever the discussion, he's got a story to tell. He's the coolest dad ever, but for as long as I can remember my family has struggled financially since he couldn't get a job that paid enough. It makes me so happy that he's finally reaching his full potential now at 51 years old, and we're all super proud of him. He dreams of being a teacher one day. He will be the best teacher his future students could ever wish for. This is so wholesome. Even as a stranger, I'm proud of your dad. Wow. I don't know where you're from, but where I'm from, 6 languages is qualified for a job almost anywhere. That's a smart dude you got there. People who are great teachers without actually being a teacher. I've always thought people who can teach others are incredibly smart because they're aware enough of what they know to present it to others in such a way they can understand it. The guy I used to work with was a phenomenal teacher of all things paints, powder coating, and color matching/blending. He had a real passion for it, and it showed in the manner in which he taught and demonstrated what he was talking about. In saying that, he was also very highly strung and had some mental health issues that held him back from doing great things, and so believed he was an idiot. He wasn't, but no amount of telling him would help. I was always taught that the best way to learn something is to try and explain/teach it to someone else. If you can put the concepts into new words to explain it to someone else, you will have understood it properly, and trying to do so is a great way to embed the knowledge in your mind. That was something that was taught in martial arts. Once you get your black belt, that's when the real learning begins. It's one thing to copy/replicate what your teacher is doing, it's another to explain why it works and figure out why what someone else is doing is not working, and apply it to different physiques. This is what I was taught as well. I taught karate after getting my first black belt for 6 to 7 years. It's been almost 10 years since I've set foot in the dojo to train or teach, but I swear that teaching cemented what I knew in my mind. To this day, I can remember and even demonstrate/teach nearly everything I learned. Pretty crazy it has that kind of sticking power in my mind. I wish differential equations stuck around as long as those throws. But honestly, when I'm preparing for exams, I like to help other people study and explain concepts to them. Even this kind of teaching helps me cement ideas and processes in my mind. Now with COVID, I guess I need to pretend to teach concepts to someone as I study, as the poster below me does. Criminal defense lawyer here. Had a client who was a low-level drug dealer and gun runner. Most street-level guys have a very different type of intelligence that doesn't translate well to the white-collar world. Many of my clients ask to read case law. I've only met one who could read it, digest it, and discuss it intelligently with me. This guy. He'd do his own research from the jail, which isn't uncommon, but this guy did it well and would actually send me relevant cases that were helpful to the issues in his case. And when I explained to him why some were not helpful, he got it, asked good questions, and used that discussion to inform future research. There are a lot of inmates who consider themselves jailhouse lawyers. This guy was smart enough to actually be one. I think about him a lot and wonder what his life would have been like if he was fortunate enough to be afforded with the same opportunities during childhood that I enjoyed. This one guy. He'd do his own research from the jail, which isn't uncommon, but this guy did it well. This story is quite sad to read. I hope he can meet his potential someday. If you want to read a happier version of this story, take a look at Professor Sean Hopwood at Georgetown Law. The guy, from prison and with zero formal legal training, penned 2 petitions for certiorari that were granted by the U.S. Supreme Court. Just one certiorari petition being granted is a huge, career-making accomplishment for any actual/trained attorney, so to have a guy who taught himself the law in a prison law library do it twice is absolutely bonkers. He has since been released, graduated from law school, and is now a professor at Georgetown. Just so everyone knows, getting a professorship at Georgetown is a really big deal. Georgetown is a premier law school and is among the T14 law schools. Hopwood could have gone into private practice and could have easily made $500,000 or more, but he chose to teach instead. What a effing badass. Every once in a while you hear a story where someone deserves all the success they have achieved 10 times over. I love it when people come up. I think about him a lot and wonder what his life would have been like if he was fortunate enough to be afforded with the same opportunities during childhood that I enjoyed. I've got a PhD and work in a field where so many people have PhDs that they don't even mention them. To this day, I suspect that the smartest person I've ever met was a kid I taught at a GED learning center in the middle of a pretty rough area of a big city. I've met plenty of people who were exceptionally smart in 1 or maybe 2 dimensions, but this guy was across the board. He'd turn it on now and then, like when we were playing chess, and one time when he made a reference to something in French of all things, and then he'd just kind of smile. Like it was enough to just briefly show the rest of us how smart he was. It was almost like he was a self-aware while hunting, not that cartoonishly smart, of course, but very, very smart, aware of it, and aware of his station in life. I have absolutely no doubt that if he'd had my advantages since birth, he'd be a rock star in whatever field he was in. But instead I'd see him hanging around a corner store and he may have been a low-level dealer. I have no idea what's become of him, but I hope it's for the best. I just did 7 years and I've ran into a few guys like that over the years. They usually live in the law library and spend years, decades even trying to get back in front of a judge. Most of us respect them and seek them out for help with our own cases, but some do mock those guys behind their backs as being crazy or delusional. I have seen one of those crazy guys get back and it was beautiful. I felt silly approaching them with my peanuts of a case and relatively short sentence while they have been spending hours a day fighting for their lives in the law library. My buddy told me about one of them. Don't be shy, go ask him to help you, he loves any opportunity to F over the state. It makes me all the more angry in my state how much more difficult they made it to access law materials. Most places I know no longer let you access hard books, and usually 1,300 guys share 5 computers, some of which are down. Also, I have a ton of empathy for the guys who never had to use a computer until then. I'm pretty well versed on the PC and I had difficulty with the law library system they had. I couldn't find crap or navigate it to save my life. I taught algebra to inmates briefly, and the number of guys who told me they were too stupid to learn math while being able to convert odd measurements between metric and imperial in their heads on the fly was too damn high. I'd like to go back in time and kick all those elementary school teachers who told them they were stupid. Actually, I've run into plenty of racist, classist elementary school teachers currently teaching but still haven't kicked them, even though they deserve it. Edit. It was also amazing to see how their illiteracy improved once they finally got a pair of glasses. Even the guys who already had glasses when they got in were often still using prescriptions from 20 years earlier. Able to convert odd measurements between metric and imperial in their heads on the fly. Let me take a wild guess at what most of those guys were in there for. Math, clearly. Methamphetamine. Or undiagnosed for disorders like dyscalculia, dyslexia, and/or ADHD. I wasted so many years believing I was stupid. I had a kid in my class that never took anything seriously, skipped class, brought alcohol to class, and did numerous other things. You name it, he probably did it. But man, that MF knew his crap whenever he paid attention. He understood things when other people were struggling to learn whatever was being taught that day: math, science, English, reading, etc. It makes me a little sad because he was always a troublemaker, but deep down I knew that he was very smart and was capable of doing well in school. He just never chose to do it, or generally just didn't care. I don't know at this point. I think he got involved with the wrong crowd early on, unfortunately. Edit. I was a classmate. I typed this late at night when I was tired, did not think to clear that up, lol. In my college dorm, we had a kid who took pride on how rarely he was sober. He skipped class regularly, and just didn't care in general, but got perfect scores on practically every test he took. So I'm sure he knew he was very intelligent, he just didn't know what to do with his intelligence. Eventually, he gave up on drinking, ended up triple majoring, and still graduated early. Last I heard, he's living happily in a cabin in the woods somewhere. Sounds like he's winning life. That or writing a manifesto and building bombs. Untreated ADHD or AD. School doesn't allow for you to hyperfocus and is demanding on your attention span. Even when you try, you will get behind, so you get extra attention from the teacher, which only leads to frustration from both parties. On the other hand, I got punished by going too far ahead in a subject and was made to spend my time helping other students or do homework for other classes. Honestly, it is a no-win situation and you just stop caring at the end. Edit. I am going to allow myself a quick little edit as more people read and responded to this than I expected. Any untreated mental condition can lead hard and fast into self-medication. Be it substance abuse or any other distraction. Usually people try to attack the symptom instead of the cause. There are free options available online. I can only share what I was helped with, which was cognitive behavioral therapy. My first step was seeking help and I do not regret it for a moment. Constantly got in trouble for reading ahead in the textbook, or the novel we were in. I'd write up a book report in a week, and then start reading my own book that I brought. Could do the math in my head without showing my work, got in a lot of trouble for that. One teacher thought I was cheating, because I'd do the math work, then sit down and read. One day, they thought they caught me. Put a problem up on the board, and drew a name out of a hat. To this day I'm convinced I was the only name in there. I was reading, because I finished my homework. Teacher called my name, I looked up from my book at the problem, walked up, wrote the answer down, then went back, and continued reading. Didn't get any more grief from her or any of my other teachers after that. Edit. For those pointing out that it may be a good idea to show your work so the teacher knows if you messed up on the formula or not, this happened in 8th grade and the very next year I had a teacher that explained that to us. Up until then, I had no idea why we needed to show our work. That's my poor son. It's taken years to get his ADHD somewhat under control. His teacher emailed me at work to tell me he was working ahead, and he needed to stop. She'd previously complained that he wasn't doing his work. I was pissed. He physically can't sit there listening to her drone on when he's already grasped the concept. I just don't understand the problem. He's sitting quietly, not disrupting anyone. Leave him alone. Edit. Thanks for the silver. My son is such a great kid. I hate that he and others who have the girl kind of ADHD get labeled as slackers, and other ADHD kids get labeled as rowdy/bad kids. They're not. They have so much to offer if we just put in a bit of effort to find out what they love, and give them the opportunity to explore. The problem is that he has to shape himself to fit into the system, and not the way around. School only cares if you're doing well the way you are supposed to. As a very heavy ADHD affected person myself, I stopped caring at one point. I stopped wanting to learn. The only time I actually studied was when I was at the point of failing the year, and that has affected the way I learned throughout life, and tainted my discipline. So my advice would be, fight. Fight tooth and nail for your son. Encourage him to be who he is, and that he doesn't have to fit the school parameter as long as he is learning. He won't be in school forever, after all. Wishing you and him the very best at it. I'm very glad my first goal was being supportive rather than some other weird crap I write here lol. Thank you, kind stranger. As an ADHD person myself, this comment is everything. Heart. Makes me wish my parents would have considered this approach. I got to the point where I just read the textbooks and never did homework. I'd pass all the tests with A's, but since I didn't do homework, I was failing every class. Ended up joining the military and dropping out. Got my GED a week after I dropped out and shipped out shortly afterwards. Ended up good in the end. Went to college after my service was up. Associate's degree to bachelor's to master's, and work in a great field. Unfortunately, a lot of smart kids with ADHD just end up dropping out and struggle with life because they never figure out that they have a problem. Once I got medicated for this crap, I've been much better. I only wonder what would have happened if any of my teachers gave half a crap and realized I had a problem rather than just ignoring my existence. I don't get it either. If I had a student like that, I'd be ecstatic. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.